Well, hey, good evening. I guess I can dispense with this since we have to do this virtually. I would much rather be doing it in person so I could feel the energy in the room as you celebrate and enjoy the euphoria of finally knowing your service selection. I'm John Sattler, retired Lieutenant General, United States Marine Corps, class of 1971, your link in the chain class. I have the distinct pleasure and the honor of representing my class this evening to go ahead and congratulate you on your service selection. Such a huge milestone in your life. It's not the end goal, but it is a huge milestone on the way to that goal of leading sailors and Marines. I can still remember 50 years ago, the excitement and the energy in the wardroom. As each one of us came back to the wardroom, it was done a little bit differently then, came back to the wardroom knowing what your service selection was and announcing it to our company mates. Great evening full of just fond memories. As you go through this night, I will hope that you are feeling that same amount of energy and a sense of accomplishment, regardless if you got your first choice, your second choice, you're about to have the opportunity to lead sailors and Marines. When I think back at this point of my life when I was a first class midshipman, what would I wish that someone would have sat me down and talked to me about when I had 6 months of runway left before I launched to go out to the operational forces. You may not remember, but when you were plebes, I had the leadership chair in the Vice Admiral James Stockdale Ethical Leadership Center. And I was afforded the opportunity then to address each and every one of you near the end of your semester in NL 110, your basic leadership class. Well, since they asked me to address you today, I went back and pulled my notes from 3 years ago and took a look at what were the key points I covered during that 50-minute presentation. Well, I distilled it down to 4 key points and took the 50 minutes and shrunk it down to about 5 or 6. And what I'd like to do now is go through what I believe are the 4 key points I wish somebody would have reminded me of when I was in your position. The first point is the word selflessness. Selflessness means basically all else before self. You've talked about selfless servant leadership probably your entire life, but definitely during your time at the U.S. Naval Academy. But it works. It absolutely works. If your default is your women, your men, your mission, yourself, you'll be just fine. It's when you grasp an opportunity to reward yourself, vice take care of what we just talked about, your men and your women and your mission, that's when you start to lose some credibility with those who are counting upon you. When it's cold, you're cold. When everyone's hungry, you're the hungriest. When everyone's tired, you're probably the most tired. Selfless servant leadership is the only kind that works. Second point is your character. What is in your wheelhouse of character? What are your defaults? What do you do when pressure is on you? How do you react? Are you the same leader in extremis as you are when the birds are chirping and the bees are flying and everything's copacetic? You have to work on your character. Know where your defaults are. When and where do you make those tough decisions in extremis or under extreme pressure? If you constantly evaluate your character, knowing what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, you can play to your strengths, but you're constantly looking at those weaknesses to improve yourself. You own your character, develop it, protect it, and project it. The next point I would say is the word competency. How competent are you at what you're supposed to be doing as a sailor or a Marine? Your competency at the Naval Academy was largely evaluated based on your academic achievements. You studied hard, you got a grade, you moved on. In the case of the operational forces, your competency is going to be graded upon how good of a warfighter are you. How well do you fly your aircraft and put steel on target? How well can you be the officer of the deck on that ship and get it through tough seas or in some cases through enemy territory? Same goes on a submarine, and the same goes if you're a ground MOS in the Marine Corps or the Navy. Be a constant learner, constantly improving yourself, never satisfied. Each night when you go to bed, you should be smarter and better than you were that morning when you woke up. Work on your competency. And the last point I'll mention is the word trust. I believe each and every one of us has a trust factor. When I used to see men and women coming towards me, whether they were soldiers, sailor, airmen, or Marines, with my seniors, my juniors, or my peers, I viewed them through the lens of trust. Could I count on them? Would they be there? Will they always be there? Would they give it their best in each and every situation? Now, your trust factor boils down, I believe, to a very simple equation. It's your character, which we just talked about, times your competency, which we also just talked about. You control your character, you control your competency, therefore, you control your trust factor. It's a multiple, character times competency. If one of those is low, then your overall score is going to be down. It's a balance. You have to be a woman and man of character and a man and woman of competency. For example, if I asked you to sit down, take out a 3x5 card, and if you were going to go into a very tough mission as a pilot, fixed wing or rotary wing, who would you want as your wingman? If you were on a surface ship or a submarine and you were going through tough seas, possibly in enemy territory, who would you want as the officer of the deck? If you were going into a battle, who would you want on your right or your left flank if you were a ground MOS? I'll take it one step deeper on that one. If you're going into the Hell House in Fallujah, and you could pick one individual in each of these cases, but one individual to have your back, who would you pick? So sit down, think of your classmates, and write down the name of the classmate you would want to have your back in those tough situations. And then flip the card over and list 3 key points. Why did you pick her or him? After you list those 3 points, turn that card back over and sit back and say, I wonder how many of my classmates picked me. And if you can't think of anyone who might have picked you, then turn the card back over again, look at those 3 key points, and grade yourself through that trust lens of the key points that you would want the individual to aspire to have your back. Let me get back to the whole reason why I'm here, and that's to congratulate you on your service selection. The operational forces are waiting for ensigns and second lieutenants like you. They're waiting for you to come out full of energy, full of alacrity, full of the spirit, enthusiasm that's going to take them as individuals and units to that next level. Congratulations on reaching this intermediate objective, and God bless each and every one of you. And I would say, always think about that Travis Manion motto you've heard since plebe year. If not me, then who? And I would add on to that, if not now, then when? You have plenty of runway between now and graduation/commencement. Take max advantage of it and get out there and light it up. And I would close by saying, go Navy, rock in the operational forces.